Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
Morning students, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Meet again on Eka's channel. We are going to continue our material on listening comprehensions. On this listening comprehensions, our topic is about listening to monologue. Today's purpose of our learning are 1. You can explain a definition of monologue in English. Second, you can do some exercises on the listening audio based on the monologue topic. And then the third, you can answer some practice to check listening comprehension from the audio listening. Finally, you can summarize by your own words the monologue that you listen. Then we come to the definition of the monologue. What is monologue? Memeka will focus on the monologue on the listening comprehension or the listening of the proficiency test for students. The definition of a monologue. A monologue is a speech presented by a single character, most often to express their mental thoughts aloud, though sometimes also to directly address another character or the audience. The monologue comes from the Greek words monos, which means alone, and logos, which means speech. It is a literary device that is speech or verbal presentation given by a single character in order to express his or her collection of thoughts and ideas aloud. Often such a character speaks directly to audience or to another character. So, on this monologue, as I told you before, that our focus in the lecture monologue. On the topic of a lecture monologue, Memeka will give you the types of the questions of the lecture monologue. The type of the questions are 1. Detailed question. A detailed question is trying to understand a specific pieces of a factual information. 2. The main idea questions. In these questions, students identify the primary purpose of a conversation or a lecture. The third type is inference question. On these questions, you have to recognize the implied information. The fourth types, organization questions. In this type, you are going to recognize the relationship between different pieces of information almost exclusively used for lectures. The 5 types, attitude question. On this attitude question, you are going to infer the speaker's attitude and opinion. The 6th type, the functions question. On this functions question, students try to understand the reason a specific thing is said. The 7th type is categorizing type. On this type of the question, students try to organize ideas from the audio into categories based on their similarities and differences. Okay, student, Memeka will try to give you an example of an audio from the lecture monologue. For the first audio is going to listen by all of you here and then specifically on the lecture monologue. Listen to the first audio and then you will also listen about 4 questions based on the first audio. Please try to prepare your note to answer the 4 questions based on the first audio. Listen now.
Hi everyone. Welcome to our special talk today on the history of the Republic of Ireland. I say Republic of Ireland, which is the southern part, and the Northern Ireland, which continues to be linked to the United Kingdom. So how did the Republic of Ireland come about? Well, first of all there was Ireland, which was called Hibernia. It was then invaded by England and colonized. This went on for many centuries and was with much resistance. Inevitably people who opposed the king and British rule, the Irish rebels, planned a revolution. The most famous date of this revolution is known as the Easter Rising of 1916. The rebels took over the General Post Office in Dublin city centre for 4 days. Eventually the British Army forced them to surrender and many of the leaders of the revolution, such as Padraig Pearse, were sentenced to death. Ireland was declared a free state in 1922. 6 of Ireland's 32 counties were retained by Britain, and these counties are called Northern Ireland. The other 26 counties make up the Republic of Ireland. Question number 1. What was the original name of Ireland? Question number 2. How long did the rebels have control of the General Post Office? Question number 3. What happened to the leaders of the revolution? Question number 4. How many counties were retained by Britain?
After you listen to the first audio, now take a look on the correct answers from the audio. Based on the 4 questions of the audio, you are going to know what are the correct answers. Now check your answers. Then, you will practice more by listening again. You are going to listen to the second audio of the lecture monologue. You will be given the questions for the same questions, and then you have to answer the questions by writing the correct answers based on the second audio lecture monologue. Listen carefully, pay attention to the question, and write down the answers on the comment of this video. Okay, student, it's time for you to practice. Listen now.
Exercise 23. Talk 1. Listen to part of a talk by a college professor.
The first few pages of the syllabus are an outline of the topics for each session. As you can see, you'll be responsible for reading the material before you come to class, so you'll have enough background to be able to follow the lecture. For example, on September 3rd, when you come to class, you should already have read the first 2 chapters in the text, so we can discuss the history of psychology in that session. The following week, you should have a grasp of chapters 3 and 4, so we can cover biology and the psychology of the brain, and so on. Now let's take a few minutes to look at the policies and procedures listed on page 3 of the course syllabus. Refer to the section under assignments first, please. You'll notice that all assignments must be typewritten and submitted on the due date in order for you to receive full credit, and the grade for a late assignment will be lowered by 1 letter for each day past the due date. Now look at the section under examinations. As you see, all exams must be completed on the dates and times scheduled in the syllabus. If you must be absent, for an exam, then try to call me to let me know what your problem is. My office phone is on the syllabus, and my home phone is listed in the telephone directory. Of course, email is best, and you have my email address on page 1. It's right under my name on the syllabus. A makeup exam must be arranged within 1 week of the scheduled date of the exam. And I must warn you, the questions on the makeup will not be the same as the questions on the regular exam. In fact, I usually give multiple choice tests, but I always give short answer tests for makeups. And my students tell me they say the makeups are quite a bit more difficult than the regularly scheduled exams. Oh yes, let's take a minute to clarify my attendance policy. I suggest that you come to class. I'll be assigning you a seat. Yes, I know you'd rather choose your own seat, but this is a large class, and it would take up too much time to call the roll every session. So I'll just mark those people absent who aren't present in their seats by the time the class begins. Better late than never, but if you're late, you'd better check in with me after class so I can change my attendance records. Remember that attendance is 15% of the grade, which usually makes the difference between an A and a B or a B and a C. Let's not even talk about D's and F's. One more thing. If you need to request an incomplete, please remember that I only approve them for illness or for a serious personal problem, not just because you ran out of time. And you must submit a request form with a signed statement of explanation to my office in order for your incomplete to be considered. Otherwise, you'll have to register and take the entire course over again to get credit.
Number 1. What is the main purpose of this talk? Two. What is the speaker's policy for late assignments? 3. What is the professor's attendance policy? 4. What is the procedure for a student to receive a grade of incomplete? 5. Listen again to part of the talk, then answer the question.
Better late than never, but if you're late, you'd better check in with me after class so I can change my attendance records. Remember that attendance is 15% of the grade, which usually makes the difference between an A and a B or a B and a C.
Why does the professor say this?
Remember that attendance is 15% of the grade.
6. What can we infer about the speaker?
This is a sort of my explanation about lecture monologue. I hope that all of you enjoy this listening material and you can practice more after listening to this material. Thank you very much for the attention, and we will see you again next week on the different material. Thank you. Best luck for all of you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.